This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather in New York and Connie Chung on assignment in Jerusalem.
Good evening. A possible break tonight into what caused the mystery crash of USAir Flight 427 outside Pittsburgh last month. Since the crash, all lines of investigation have been leading nowhere until now. CBS News correspondent Bob Orr has exclusive details of the latest findings.
CBS News has learned that hydraulic fluid from the rudder system of USAir Flight 427 contained 500 times more impurities than the amount found in new hydraulic fluid. Investigators say that debris in the fluid may have caused a catastrophic failure of the jet's rudder, resulting in the crash which killed all 132 people on board.
It is the one explanation that is developed so far that completely explains the flight path of the airplane.
Investigators for the first time today described exactly what happened as the jet approached Pittsburgh. They told CBS News the plane was just below 6,000 feet when the 737 suddenly made a complete roll to the left, turning wing over wing. The plane began a second roll when it nosed over into a steep dive to the ground at 300 miles per hour.
If the rudder were to go hard over to the left and stay there, the motion that it would produce is very similar to what was actually experienced.
The contaminated hydraulic fluid was found inside the valve that controls the jet's rudder. Investigators believe the fluid could have caused the valve to stick, jamming the rudder and preventing the pilot from regaining control of the diving jetliner.
It's a little like a stroke, where you get a piece of something that breaks off in an artery or a vein and gets lodged somewhere else and causes a malfunction in the brain.
Investigators have also ordered tests of hydraulic fluids from 737 still flying to distinguish between a normal buildup of debris from regular wear and tear as opposed to abnormal levels that could cause mechanical failure. Investigators are hoping this may be the smoking gun they've been looking for since the Pittsburgh crash 7 weeks ago. If it is, it may also provide some new leads into a similar unsolved crash of a United 737 in Colorado Springs in 1991. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
As President Clinton begins his Middle East pilgrimage tonight, Israel is mounting the biggest security operation since Egypt's President Anwar Sadat came here in 1977. 20,000 police are being deployed in the wake of several terrorist attacks. But today, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin promised that in the end, peace will defeat terror. Israel made it official tonight. Just a few hours ago, the parliament, or Knesset, agreed to end the long years of war and begin the season of peace with Jordan. The Knesset overwhelmingly ratified a treaty that Prime Minister Rabin and King Hussein will sign tomorrow, with President Clinton as a witness. Earlier today, in an interview, Mr. Rabin said the treaty is more than just a diplomatic document.
It's a really historic moment. I believe that many Israelis dreamt, prayed to achieve this kind of peace. And I'm glad and satisfied that as a Prime Minister, I was given the unique opportunity to do it.
But security officials are praying that there will be no repeat of last week's Tel Aviv bus bombing. The radical Palestinian group Hamas claimed credit for that bloody attack, and police believe they will try again during President Clinton's visit. They've put police on highest alert and canceled all leaves, and sources say a nervous U.S. Secret Service has tried to convince the White House to cancel some of President Clinton's public appearances in Jerusalem. Mr. Clinton arrived in Cairo late tonight and started his high-stakes diplomatic tour with a visit to the grave of Anwar Sadat. Tomorrow morning, he will meet with Yasser Arafat. The PLO leader complains that Israel is dragging its feet in implementing the agreement with the Palestinians.
I'll discuss all these obstacles which they are putting in front of us and stopping the whole peace process.
But if Arafat is frustrated with the Israelis, he's furious at the Jordanians, because in the treaty with Israel, Jordan gets control of Muslim holy sites in Jerusalem. But Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine, Arafat insisted again today, and he's determined to make it so in future negotiations with the Israelis, no matter what tomorrow's treaty says. For Israel, peace with Jordan has been a long time coming. But tomorrow's milestone in the desert still marks the way for an uncertain future. As President Clinton said today, it's a long journey, and the hardest steps are yet to come. Our veteran Middle East correspondent Bob Simon has been covering this journey every step of the way, and he has the latest.
President Clinton will hear a tune he may almost recognize in the desert tomorrow. They were going through the motions this afternoon, the Jordanians and the Israelis, a dress rehearsal, a battle of the bands. While two armies joined forces against a fierce desert wind, two announcers went through their scripts, 46 years in the writing.
The time for peace has come.
They were going through the motions in the Knesset as well. It was called a debate, but it wasn't really. 105 out of 120 voted in favor. That is almost unheard of in this Jewish state.
In the Knesset today, in Israel today, hopes for peace are once again doing battle with memories of war. Israelis cannot lose sight of their past, not for one instant. That's why Rabin has decreed that tomorrow, as the treaty is being signed, wreaths will be laid on the tombs of Israel's fallen.
Ron Ben Ishai was only 5 when his father was killed by Jordanians in 1948.
On the grave is Baruch Ben Ishai, that is my father.
Ron doesn't remember him, but is compelled to come here every year to the cemetery on the Mount of Olives.
These visits are my, how shall I say, my blood contact or my blood connection to this country, to the Israeli experience.
Ron's father was killed on the road to Jerusalem during Israel's War of Independence. Ron himself was wounded in the next war.
I don't see anything special about it. This is life in this country.
That has been life in this country, which measures time not in decades, but in wars.
If you could have a private moment with King Hussein, is there anything you'd say to him?
Yes. Be careful. You are too precious to be lost by us.
The trees and the tombs will bear silent witness to the peace being consecrated in the desert, here on the Mount of Olives, where so many warriors and so many peacemakers have found their final home. Bob Simon, CBS News, Jerusalem.
Despite the hope brought on by tomorrow's signing ceremony with Jordan, the prevailing feeling here in Israel is one of anxiety and doubt because of ongoing terrorism and because of Syria, the lone holdout. I'll be back with more on that later in the broadcast. Dan?
Thanks, Connie. And straight ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, he might have been president, might have been on the Supreme Court. Soon, he might be out of a job. And Eye on America. Tonight, a big U.S. city aims to get rid of all handguns.
You may have made a difference in someone's life. We can't tell you their name or anything about them. We can tell you that by using or being a designated driver like 80 million other Americans, you've made a very real contribution. You see, drunk driving fatalities declined by 32% in the last 10 years. We salute America's designated drivers, and we urge everyone to join you. By doing what's right, you're making things better. A message from Budweiser.
So, Ray, what do you think?
Well, they would never make my training table.
Why?
Because my guys would say to me, hey, Ray. They're pretty good.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They're simple, but crispy and all.
Yeah, it should be. It's Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Taste them again for the first time.
You're gonna love them. Because I said so.
Police in Lexington, Kentucky are trying to contain a racial disturbance tonight. Police said it began after a police officer accidentally shot and killed a teenager in a predominantly black neighborhood. Police then tried to seal off the downtown area as roving bands of young people went on a rampage. Several people were reported injured, including at least one Lexington, Kentucky police officer. The midterm off-year election campaign now is rolling like a fast freight with just 2 weeks to go. Republicans are picking up the pace of their attacks on one of their top gubernatorial targets, incumbent New York Governor Mario Cuomo. Correspondent Anthony Mason reports tonight on the Mario scenario versus the George Pataki attack.
Not long ago, he was considered the Democrats' brightest hope, the liberals' best speaker.
They asked only for a chance to work and to make the world better for their children.
A possible president. But now Mario Cuomo is fighting for his political life, fighting just to keep his job as governor of New York. Lending support last week, President Clinton wondered,
why is this a race? Why is it even close?
Hi, how are you? Republican George Pataki isn't just close. In most polls, the little-known former mayor of the little city of Peekskill is ahead, promising tax cuts in one of the country's highest tax states.
We need someone new. We are tired of Cuomo.
Mario Cuomo has been in office 12 long years. It's time for a change.
It's because we spend too much, we tax too much, we have a system of government that is horribly inefficient. That's the reason Governor Cuomo's in trouble.
Mario Cuomo says his ideas aren't tired, but he understands the frustrations of voters everywhere.
They want to find something different after all these years. Hey, Matilda's been married to me for 40 years.
Cuomo's TV ads have attacked Pataki as
politics as usual,
calling him the puppet of powerful Republican Senator Al D'Amato. New York City's Republican mayor alluded to that yesterday when he endorsed the governor.
Mario Cuomo is his own man. I prefer dealing with someone who is his own man, even if we disagree on some important issues.
I think Cuomo's really a very brilliant man and is seasoned and mature and can do a lot for us.
Win or lose, Cuomo has hinted this could be his last campaign. He probably won't ask again, he told one crowd. He just wants to be governor. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
There are two new medical studies out tonight on silicone gel breast implants. Both studies failed to find a definitive link between the implants and health complaints by women who received them. Other studies have raised health and safety questions, prompting tight federal restrictions on silicone gel implants. And manufacturers have agreed to pay more than $4 billion to settle health damage claims.
People are creatures of habit. That explains why most people who use laxatives stick with their brand. You, however, might change if you knew which overnight laxative doctors say they'd take most. And that's Phillips Milk of Magnesia. In fact, for gentle overnight relief, they'd take Phillips more than any other brand. Now, that's something you can feel very good about taking. After all, doctors do. Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Doctors know best.
For a touch of arthritis pain, my husband takes Advil. Doctors recommend Advil most for minor arthritis pain, and it's gentler on his stomach than aspirin. He says Advil lets him get back to doing what he loves. Nothing's been proven to last longer than Advil.
So at Jenny's school play, I get this cough. Somebody handed me these Robitussin cough drops. They worked right away, and I could feel those vapors. Robitussin took the spotlight off me and put it where it belonged.
Robitussin cough drops from the cough experts.
Fruit and Fiber has a great new taste, and we just can't keep it under wraps.
I got a great new taste.
Now with crispy multigrain flakes.
I got a great new taste.
More raisins, more walnuts, more dates.
Got a lot of great new taste.
And oat clusters with a touch of brown sugar.
Oh yeah, I got a great new taste.
A new taste so delicious, it shows. The new Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. It's fruit and fiber.
And a great new taste.
What if this is all the press could report in the Simpson case?
Their names, their addresses, their ages. Nothing else that's interesting.
That's all that's been reported about this couple's involvement in a brutal murder case. Media blackout or media circus, which is better? Eye on America tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
A federal judge in Miami issued a temporary restraining order today to stop the U.S. government from repatriating Cuban refugees detained at the U.S. There are tens of thousands of them, and a group of Cuban-American lawyers has filed suit demanding that all of them be admitted to the United States. Hundreds of exiled Cubans already here in the United States are stepping up training to use this country as a base for overthrowing the communist government back home. Correspondent Diana Gonzalez has that story.
Poised behind the barrel of a gun, another soldier in a growing militia. In Miami, there is a resurgence of paramilitary groups fired up by the recent crisis in Cuba. Exiled Cubans preparing to do battle with their arch enemy, Cuban President Fidel Castro.
This is Castro's way. This is the only way he knows it.
So fighting fire with fire?
Fire with fire, he said it. An eye for an eye.
Federal agents estimate there are close to 1,000 members. The groups say they are now more determined than ever, despite a setback. Several commandos from a group called PUND are now in a Havana jail. They were arrested 2 weeks ago for bringing in weapons and killing a Cuban national.
Their aim is to get into the country, to do sabotages, to put bombs in the public places, to try to assassinate our leaders.
This is where most of the commando missions are launched, boat docks across South Florida. It's against the law. The Neutrality Act prohibits mounting military actions from the U.S. against a foreign country. Police are cracking down on these armed maneuvers. In recent months, they've intercepted a half-dozen boats loaded with weapons and ammunition.
We have people that are transiting the Straits of Florida heavily armed with explosives and machine guns. We stop many of them, but we can't stop it all.
They shouldn't be stopped, says a Florida congressman.
So that Cuban Americans can fight and die with our brothers and sisters on the island.
Heavy on rhetoric, but light on military might. Nevertheless, these groups are gaining new momentum, becoming a bigger thorn in Castro's side. Diana Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
Coming up next, Eye on America. Tonight, guns, crime, and the fear that could make Milwaukee famous.
What do people think of these Sunsweet orange and lemon essence pitted prunes?
I love lemons. Do they smell like oranges? I like these a lot. Orange essence excites me. Lemon flavored prunes? They're wonderful. These are really good. What did Barbara Mandrell think?
Actually, I love them both.
I'm about to perform an amazing act. The act of breathing, made possible by Tavis D.
Prescription strength Tavis D relieves tough congestion and sneezing for 12 hours so you can breathe easier.
There's nothing else like it.
What does it take to be a champion? You're always striving to be better, pushing yourself to a new level. And that's what the Breakfast of Champions just did. Now, Wheaties taste better than ever. There's a better toasted wheat taste, bigger crunch. The new taste of Wheaties. The Breakfast of Champions just got better.
When it comes to great resorts, nothing beats a Carnival cruise. All your daytime fun, all your nighttime shows and entertainment, and all your foods included too in one low price. Reach, what are you doing here?
You have to ask?
I think I do have to ask,
I mean,
yes.
after all these years of it, see me now.
It must be working, huh?
It's working on me.
Take a 3-, 4-, or 7-day vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
All right, Kathy, it's a fun shit.
My sister wonders why she still has gas after taking her Tums. Hello? Tums don't work on pressure and bloating. Mylanta Gas Relief does. Mylanta Gas has the best and only medicine for gas relief. Think she heard me?
Who wants to think about light bladder protection all the time? I don't, because I found Serenity pads with Dry Layer Plus. They stay drier than ordinary maxi pads, so I feel drier. Look, it's no big deal. Get Serenity and get on with it.
She'd never met this boy until he was convicted of murder. Why is this grandmother fighting to get him out of jail? An all-new 48 Hours Wednesday.
Handguns are used in more murders in this country than any other weapon. According to the latest figures from the FBI, there is a handgun murder every 42 minutes. Now, one of America's largest cities is considering unprecedented action to try to stop the handgun violence. Correspondent Frank Courier has the story in tonight's Eye on America.
Milwaukee's blue-collar landscape of red brick, cold beer, and bratwurst is now a battlefield over handguns.
Fire! Cease fire, Milwaukee. Ban the handguns.
What began as a grassroots campaign grew to a ballot referendum that'll see voters decide if Milwaukee becomes the first major American city to outlaw possession of all handguns.
As understandable as handgun ownership may be based on decades of mythology, it's quite clear that they present a clear and present danger to our health and safety. They are a dangerous product.
I can't walk out of a door unless I look left or right. I have to know who's to my side and behind me.
Indeed, Christina Perez can't forget the night she was raped and robbed at gunpoint.
When you have a gun held to your head, you know, and the other hand was choking me, I had to deal with that. I could not run or scream.
Christina's story is no less chilling than 1,000 others in Milwaukee, where handgun homicides are on the rise and the murder rate has doubled in a decade.
In certain parts of our city, the nightly rattle of gunfire can be heard, and that has got to be stopped.
But as fear of violent crime invades Milwaukee's working-class neighborhoods, many believe that a citywide gun ban would disarm everyone but the criminal.
I can't believe America's come to this, where I have to strap a gun on to sell candy.
Paul Martinka arms himself for work at Care's Candy Store, a family-owned landmark in what has become a dangerous high-crime neighborhood.
If it's them or me, it's going to be them. You know, that's why we practice all the time. First shot, headshot, game over. That's the way we play the game.
Without his .41 Magnum, Martinka fears he'd be easy prey.
This is the one John Wayne used, not like that Clint Eastwood gun. He's got a small gun. This one will really stop him.
Wisconsin's pro-gun lobby is fighting the ban, saying the ordinance would be too hard to enforce without unlawful searches, and the fine for a first offense is a mere $100.
What was a criminal who's facing the penalties for murder, rape, armed robbery, how could he possibly be concerned about an ordinance that provides a $100 to $200 fine because they happen to have a handgun?
And while the ban would allow ownership of shotguns and rifles, critics say small arms would still be the weapon of choice among criminals.
If I give mine up, who's going to make them give theirs up?
This one right here? Yeah. And handguns are what keep Milwaukee's 230 gun dealers profitable.
It is a way to financially force shops out of business.
Whatever the outcome November 8th, voters here will send out a powerful message to America on how far one city is willing to go, stopping outlaws by outlawing handguns. In Milwaukee, Frank Courier for Eye on America.
Day one in the middle of nowhere. The meals have been superb. It's a good thing they have a fitness program aboard every Royal Caribbean ship. Maybe I'll work out tonight before dinner. Maybe I won't. There was something about the streamers at our Bon Voyage party that told me this is going to be the vacation of a lifetime.
You've got some Royal Caribbean coming.
6 p.m. and all is not well. It feels a little like 6 a.m. when you woke up with morning breath. Sure, you use Scope, but a lot has happened since then, including lunch. And those germs, they're back.
Hi, honey.
This time it's evening breath. Time to Scope again. Because Scope gets to the hard-to-reach places even brushing can't get to. Kills millions more germs than brushing alone and gets your whole mouth clean and your breath minty fresh, not medicine-y. When you gotta freshen your breath again, Scope again.
The customized 1947 Harley-Davidson, about $15,000. The Big Twin Shaver, about 35 cents. What do they have in common? They're both worth every penny.
You know, California prunes aren't just great snacks. They're good with breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. Why, the possibilities are endless.
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
You let Vince drive your new Bonneville just to the game. Guy's a wild man.
He wanted to see how the Bonneville stacked up to his BMW. I got his attention when I told him I had traction control, dual airbags, and even more horsepower than his BMW, and for thousands less.
So you think he'll like it?
Well, I suppose he does.
Where is that guy?
We're back in Jerusalem, where Israel and its neighbors are contemplating both the specter of terrorism and the vision of a comprehensive peace. President Clinton and Prime Minister Rabin have each said they hope this week's treaty with Jordan will be followed by peace between Israel and its archenemy, Syria. Rabin emphasized that hope when I talked with him today.
I'm ready to take calculated risks to give a chance for peace, because the risks of war and violence and terror lead nowhere.
Are you willing to give up all of the Golan Heights if you can get the normalization of relations and the security assurances ahead of time?
No, we are ready for a significant withdrawal, which I will not go to describe geographically the depths of it. We have to keep a margin of security. We know at the same time that without taking calculated risk for peace, peace will not be achieved.
How do you feel about sharing the Nobel Peace Prize with Yasser Arafat?
I have decided that he is the partner for the continuation of what we have started in signing of the Declaration of Principle. Among the Palestinians are two alternatives, either Arafat or the Hamas. With Hamas is only endless bloodshed and wars.
These terrorist attacks have killed Israelis and have undermined the rule of Arafat. Do you think Yasser Arafat is doing enough to stop the Hamas?
Well, we know that the main enemies of peace today are the extreme Islamic terror movements and groups. Among the Palestinians are the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. In Lebanon, the Hezbollah, and they are a threat all over the Arab world.
Mr. Prime Minister, you are in such a sensitive position because the right wing calls you a traitor, a murderer, because of your agreement with the PLO leader.
Well, it's their problem, not mine. I don't give a damn for them.
Really? I mean, really? You see those placards outside?
My record in the service to my country as a military man and as a member of the government, as a prime minister, I believe the people of Israel know better than those who called me this name. Without having the agreement with the PLO, it would be under question mark to what extent we could sign tomorrow the peace treaty with Jordan, or in the future with Syria and Lebanon.
Tomorrow, President Clinton will join Rabin and King Hussein as they sign a peace treaty on their desert border. He's a most welcome guest. Rabin today quoted the prophet Isaiah, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace." Reporting tonight from the David Tower Museum in the Old City of Jerusalem, tomorrow I will be in Jordan as the president continues his pilgrimage through the Middle East. Dan?
Connie, and CBS News will bring you live coverage of the treaty signing first thing tomorrow on CBS This Morning. Connie and I will see you again tomorrow night. Good night.